in the documentary, you mentioned that how close you came to cracking the main event scene in WCW in the late 90s, but that you never quite got into what you call this kind of top 10. So this top tier of the Hogans, the Stings, the Flairs, the Lugers, etc. I mean, looking back now with hindsight, why do you think you never quite managed that? Was it just a case that was an impossibility in WCW with so much politics?
Bischoff didn't get the character.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We've talked about it. I did his podcast, but yeah, he just didn't get the character. It was like, all right, everybody's different. Nothing I can do about that.
Which is interesting because WCW was it was an incredibly cool brand in 1997, 1998. It was significantly cooler for a while than the WWF was.
Well, it was also weird because he let me book my own storylines. Like, he let me and Saturn book our own stuff, but we always made sure we stayed within our own range. You know what I mean? We never tried to book ourselves against, you give anybody a chance to book themselves, they're going to say, oh, I'll work the top guys, I picked guys at my level so I knew I could go over on them and it wouldn't be a problem, and I wouldn't have to, argue about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he had Dusty help us, me and Saturn write our stuff, which was great having Dusty doing that,
Yeah. I mean, of course, you're a very established character, and that character pays it forward in terms of you being the one to give Bill Goldberg his first title victory. So of course he destroys the Flock on the way to getting to you and becoming US champion. I mean, that's I would imagine, he was WCW's golden goose at the time. Presumably they needed someone with a lot of experience to be able to make sure that he looked like an absolute monster en route to winning the title.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. What was that? What was that experience like working through that match? Because I remember that looked quite brutal, like the various spears that were.
No, it was fine. It was just I could tell he just didn't get it because I go, look, if somebody hits you, I was showing him how to sell with something, and I go, if somebody hits you, you're going to sell it. You're going to sell like this way, and he's like, no, I wouldn't sell it. I'm like,
okay.
But he didn't know any better, and he was getting pumped up from everybody else, from the top guys, and so, no sell, don't sell, but it got over like a son of a bitch, I always say that.
Yeah, it did, and it's moments like his win over you, the win over Hogan 2 months later, which are the clips which are replayed over and over and over again when it comes to talk about his dominance.